Welcome to the first episode of the Local Legends Cycling Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Smith, and joining us today is one of the shining stars of the Springdale Bike
Oh
Club, a
boy.
true local legend with over 4,700 miles logged in the saddle last year, a founding member of the Springdale Bike Club, and undisputed champion of Taco Tuesday rides. Please give a warm welcome to Morgan Lindsay. I guess let's start out at the beginning there. When did you get started in cycling?
That's a good question. So I remember very clearly.
Mm
My dad was an Air Force enlisted aircraft mechanic. So we traveled all over the place, lived in a lot of different places.
hmm. Mm hmm.
So my memory is very distinct because I can remember the different places that we lived in. So that would have got me to the times, right?
Mm
Because I
hmm.
knew the times and I knew where we lived just by memory. Like, say, if you're born in, say, Springdale, Arkansas, and you live here your whole life,
Yeah.
where does your memory kick in? It kicks in at some point in time, but will you know the exact age that it kicks in?
Yeah, I think like my earliest memories, I remember whenever we lived in Goshen there for a little while, and
Hmm.
because my dad, he would drive us up and down he'd drive me up. My sisters weren't born yet,
Oh,
but he'd drive me in a stroller up and down, and we'd pet the cows as we'd go by.
oh, wow.
So I remember, and then my next memory is like we're living at the house here in Springdale, and then I've been here ever since.
Oh,
But
okay.
I get the idea of what you're saying there with the different points in your life.
Right, because
Yeah.
it's distinct by the places that we live. So
Mm-hmm.
we moved to Japan the first time in southern Japan. It was called Ashia Air Base, which we were there from 1958 to 1960, and it closed in 1960.
Mm-hmm.
And then the U.S. Air Force turned it back over to the Japanese Self-Defense Force. So I started bike riding when I was 4 years old in Ashia. We lived off base,
Okay.
and
Is that little picture of you in the little cap with the big bike that bike that's almost too big for you? That you
yes, the black and white one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mhm. Okay, I've
So
seen that
so
picture.
that's the first bike that I had. It was a single gear freewheel, and it had handbrakes.
Oh,
So I
wow.
started off with handbrakes.
Yeah.
And I remember the exact moment after Dad, I asked Dad to take off my training wheels, and I tried to ride it, but you'd ride a couple, pedal strokes and then you kind of fall over.
Mhm.
But I can remember the exact moment. It was after supper one evening, and in my mind, something just clicked. It's like, Morgan, if you just get on it and pedal hard and go straight, you'll keep the bike up.
Yeah.
I remember that exact moment in my mind
Wow.
as clearly as it happened yesterday.
Hmm.
So we lived in off base in a
Mhm.
housing area that had a dirt road that circled the whole housing area. So when I took off, I just started making circles around that whole housing area.
Mhm.
Probably a circle would be maybe a couple, 300 yards long.
Yeah.
That's how I got started.
Mm,
And
cool.
ever since then, so people ask me when did I start riding, I say, well, four, and they say, no, like for seriously, age four.
Yeah.
And I've had a bicycle with me every moment of my life since then. Like I tell people, I'm not really sure how that happened. I think I was just on this path for it to happen.
Yeah.
So every moment in my life, I've had a bicycle within just a hand's reach
Nice.
throughout my whole life.
And
Yep.
how many bicycles have you gone through?
Okay, so that first one, then my red one, and then I had a Columbia Tourist
Mhm.
when we moved to Massachusetts. My first geared bike when I was 11 years old, a three-speed rear hub geared bike,
Mhm.
and then Japan the second time. I had two bikes there. That second bike I brought back to the States in 1974. The first bike I bought after I got here, um, when I moved to Fayetteville, was a Schwinn Voyager, so that would be number six. And then a Cannondale road bike, um, a mountain bike, a Bridgestone mountain bike. Oh gosh, I don't know. So three or four after that. I kind of lost count in that middle
Yeah.
part, but quite a few, quite a few
Okay,
bikes.
so about the average.
About the average. Yeah, probably maybe 15 total, you
Okay.
know. And I've got about 10 of them at home right now because I never really sold any of my bikes. I know I
Mhm.
could probably sell them or give them away, but even if I sold it, I would get maybe 100, 150 bucks for one, and then I'd spend that 150 bucks, so I wouldn't have the money or the bike.
Yeah.
So,
Well, good to have the memories, I would imagine.
but yeah, so back to
Yeah.
your original question, I started when I was 4 years old.
Okay.
Yep,
Then that
and
was the
loved it from, And when I was living in Japan, I've told this story lots of times. So we lived there from 1958 to 1960,
Mhm.
which is a little bit after the major reconstruction of Japan. And my memory there, when we eventually moved on base,
Mhm.
the American government wanted to hire as many Japanese nationals as they could to work on the base, right?
Mm.
So we were friends to the Japanese. They accepted that, and so every morning when I lived on base, I could see the Japanese full-time nationals ride in to their jobs on bicycles.
Okay.
So at age 4, 5, 6, that was in my mind, right? A country trying to get rebuilt. Cars were a thing, but not everybody could afford one.
Mhm.
But the typical Japanese would just ride. If they had a destination other than like the base that I lived on, they would ride to the train station and take the train or subway to where they were going and reverse it on the way back.
And is their, infrastructure pretty as accommodating as it is now? Or because I know, like, they've got spots on the train for the bicycle, so you can take the bicycle with you.
Right. If you go on any Japanese centric website, you'll see outside the train stations literally hundreds and hundreds of bikes
Mhm.
where adults still ride their bikes to the train station.
Yeah.
They don't have to lock them. And if you look there, they're all the same looking bike, but they know who's theirs, you know.
Yeah.
But it's always been a bike centric society, even before the war, but after the war, to get back to getting to their jobs to rebuild the country, they used bikes for transportation.
Mhm.
They had to, you know,
Right. Yeah, and that's kinda what's a little bit different than here is, like, we're a car centric.
car centric. Yeah,
Yeah, that's, eh, not a big problem, but it's kind of butts heads with the, cyclists here,
no
you
doubt
know?
about that.
Yeah.
It's getting better though, you
It's
know.
been getting a lot better. I remember whenever there wasn't anything here,
Oh,
and
I
I
know too. Yeah.
imagine you more so than I, because like, how long have you been here in, Northwest Arkansas?
I moved here in 1979,
Mhm.
June of 1979 to go to work at Washington Regional. And I brought my bike. It was the bike that I still had from when I was riding in Japan the second time.
Mm.
I don't remember the model name, but it was a decent bike. Probably by today's standards, it would be like an entry level steel bike, kind of
Mhm.
heavy, uh, 10 speed. So, you know, two chain rings, five, cogs in the back, and friction shifting.
Mm.
That was before index shifting, way
Yeah.
before index shifting. But when I got here to Fayetteville, you could ride all over the place, pretty much any time. Yeah, there'd be cars that would occasionally yell at you, but I mean, I could ride to Tawny Town on 112 on that bike
Mhm.
and not have a problem with cars because of the population,
Yeah.
1979, you know.
Yeah, that'd be kinda a hard feat to do now unless you did it at midnight, then you'd be taking your life at your hands because
Exactly.
the deer.
112 would be that's a death wish for a cyclist, you know,
I've ridden down 112 stretches of 112, but it's usually over there in, like, Cave Springs, you
during
know?
that section right there.
Mhm.
If you get off a wagon wheel and kind of
Yeah,
go around.
it goes a little bit slower there, and there's a lot longer corridors, so
Yeah.
there's better sight lines, but that's about the only place in 112 I would dare ride right now.
Right. So yeah, I moved here in 1979. Here's something that I hear a lot. So back then, as cyclists became, uh, more cyclists, more serious cyclists happened
Mhm.
in this area. You'd be out on the road and they'd yell at you, "Hey, get off the road!" Blah 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 blah. And but there's very few cyclists. But you'd encounter that, and we still encounter that.
Mhm.
But now Northwest Arkansas is building all these trails everywhere, and the folks that were complaining about get off the road, now they're saying, why are you putting money in those trails when you could be putting money into roads or other infrastructure?
Yeah.
So you can't have it one way or another, you know.
Mhm.
So we're getting off the road and getting on trails. So they just have to deal with it, you know.
I was talking to Judy this afternoon about it, but we were talking about it's like, getting out there and, like, a lot of cycling is suffering whenever you're out there and doing it, but whenever you get done, you realize how much you've accomplished and how far you've gone, and
All right.
that feeling is paramount.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Mhm.
Yeah, during the middle of the ride, like she had yesterday, she was probably suffering.
Oh, yeah, I know. She's looking for a gravel bike now, and she sent me one. She's like, "Hey,
Really?
what would you, bid on this?" I was like, "Well, I'll send you the blue book stats on it."
Yeah, I was surprised to see her show up on that 35-pound mountain bike or whatever it weighs. Yeah. I told her right after the ride, I said, Judy, I'm impressed. You should get a reward for the best finisher all day because I think if I would have been riding that same bike in my size, I don't think I could have finished.
Mhm.
Uh, you know,
Well, your bike probably weighs about it just as much, doesn't it? That e-bike?
I wasn't riding my e-bike
Oh, I thought
yesterday.
I thought the, gravel bike that you had was an e-bike as well.
Well, it's got a gravel bike frame, but it's
Mhm.
set up for a road bike.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got road bike wheels
Or
and
yeah.
road bike gearing.
Mm, okay.
Yeah, so I was on my gravel bike,
Oh, okay.
and I've
And how
had
was
it.
that?
The bike is nice.
Yeah.
I've had it about a little bit over 4 years. I ride it on the Greenway quite a bit,
Mhm.
but recently I put a little bit better gravel tire on
Mhm.
and got it, aired up and sealant and everything in it. So that was my first time on gravel, except when I was a kid, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was interesting. So that bike, even with everything I have on it, is about a 24 pounder, so pretty
Mm.
light.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
But they do make, of course, they make e-bike gravel bikes.
Mhm.
And I know some folks on the ride yesterday were riding them. So this is another story I tell people. You've probably heard it.
Mhm.
Everybody's probably tired of hearing it. So I moved here in 1979 with a bike, and everyone I knew at that time I could count that was a serious bike rider, I can count on two hands, right?
Mhm.
And that includes the bike shop guys, which was about that many. So typically, I'd meet someone at work and they'd say, "Hey, Morgan, I hear you're a bike rider." I said, "Yeah, yeah." And they'd say, "Well, I am too." And I said, "Well, let's go for a bike ride." And they say, "Yeah, let's do that." And I say, "Where you want to go ride?" And they said, "Well, like in my neighborhood, we can go up my street and kind of around in my cul-de-sac and back." That's what they thought a bike ride was like.
Mm.
Basically, that was still what they did as kids,
Yeah.
and that never changed.
Mm. Never
So
got more adventurous.
yes, so from those 10 people that I knew that were, I would say, serious bike riders to now, I mean, there's thousands and thousands of bike riders up here now.
Mhm.
Thousands,
I'd
and
say it's a
growing every
pretty
day.
good percentage of the population now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
compared to the way it was. Yeah.
Yeah, no, even from, like, whenever I was a kid,
Mhm.
I used to ride my bike from, over there off the, east end of town over there by Harps, that little cul-de-sac behind there.
Okay.
I'd ride it down to the high school over here, and it'd take me about 25, 30 minutes or
Oh,
so.
wow. You did that, huh?
Mhm, and
That was a two-lane road back then, right?
it was a two-lane road. It was right before, they brought Huntsville Street, and it came back over and touched onto, what is that, Emma there?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they changed the name of that little, because you remember, if you remember, that there was that little loop that went back around the mountain over there,
Right, right. Yeah.
and it went up the side of that mountain, but
Right.
that loop's not there anymore. It cuts back up, and it's, I forget the name of that little section of it because it turns from Huntsville into Butterfield
I know
Coach.
what you're talking about.
Yeah,
So what years would that have been about?
that would have been 2010 to 2011,
Okay.
or 2000, maybe 2009.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because way back in the day, you hear the term turkey loop.
Mhm.
So way back in the day, Springdale had a stage race every year,
Mhm.
and then they had during the year they'd have one-off road races and one-off criteriums too.
Mhm.
So the stage race, uh, we got together kind of on the top of that. Say if you go around and you kind of come back around, I can't remember that road, but we'd all stage there, right?
Mhm.
And we do a road race, just loop. There's that 9 mile loop that we just loop around. Depending on your category, you loop it from 3 to 6 times, or
Mhm.
3 to 7 times. So you do a road race and then a stage, or road race would be the first part of the stage, and then do a time trial out there. And then on Sunday, we do a criterium right around where we're sitting right now.
Mhm.
And that went on from the late 80s till about 1991, 1992. It was a
Okay.
big deal. It was
Yeah, that
it
would've been
was at
before I
this
was born then.
way before you were
Yeah.
born.
Well,
And
I
it
was
was
born in '93, so yeah, right around the time I was born is when that,
okay.
yeah.
And it was at the same level that Joe Martin's stage race was at that time too.
Okay.
But Joe Martin was still an amateur race.
Mhm.
But it was kind of at the same level. It's called the Father's Day stage race. And I've looked for advertisements and brochures because back then it was word of the mouth. You'd see it in the paper
Mhm.
or you'd see a flyer. I've never been able to find a flyer
Have you gone
from,
up to the university and, looked through their microfiche collection?
no, I haven't.
Yeah, the University of or the library at the University of Arkansas has a pretty extensive. I don't know if they digitized that yet. They may have, but I
Okay,
know that's a few off to the left as you go in through the main front there
okay,
across from the Union.
okay,
You can talk to them. They'll set the microfiche machine up for you.
okay, so
So
I
if
can
you have
take
a rough idea of like dates, you can probably find
I
that.
know the exact dates
Yeah. Okay.
because I used to say my, jersey numbers by
Hmm.
the date and the, distance and my average time from start to finish. So I've got a
Gotcha.
lot of those, yeah.
Now, were the jerseys paper back then, or were they like a plastic or
You
the?
mean the numbers?
Yeah, because I know they're like a Tyvek now material.
They're like, paper.
Paper.
Paper,
Okay.
yeah, and you had, 4 you could only use 4, safety pins to
Okay.
pin them on. You couldn't pin because if a lot of guys would try to pin more to make them more arrow,
Yeah.
but you only could use 4, so you pin them at the
Mm,
corners.
bet that led to a lot of those getting lost on the side of the road.
That could be.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, I kept a lot of those, numbers of
Mhm.
the times that I was, racing back then.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've got the one that I did last year whenever I rode my, Schwinn in in the tire race.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So you saved that number?
Yeah, I saved that number.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it somewhere at the house. I think it's on the shelf in the garage.
Yeah, it's great to save those numbers. I tell people, I well, not tell people, I suggest to people when they do their first century ride, that evening, go back and write down your thoughts, your
Mhm.
experiences, how you felt, where you went, and all that, because, 40 years from now,
Yeah.
you can look back and say, "Hey, I actually did a century ride," and all that kind
Right.
of thing.
Well, I feel like that's gonna get a lot easier as we progress because now we've got stuff like Strava,
That's true. Yeah.
and that's interesting that you bring that up because if you look at the end of the ride, it'll like when I use my watch,
Hmm.
I'll pull up the app and it'll prompt me to like rename the ride,
Right.
and then how did you feel? How did it? How?
Description.
Yeah, the description. How did it go? And I was like, huh, I might have to start filling those out more often.
Yeah. And yeah, that's one thing nice about Strava is if you do every ride, you can look back and count your
Catalog.
rides, catalog it, count it. It's
Yeah.
basically a log that, continuously it'll log
Hmm.
every ride and you can see what you've done. Way back in the day, I used to keep a log of my rides.
Oh wow.
Even when I was a runner, I'd say like Sunday morning, I ran blah, 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 or I did this, and I'd say how I felt.
Yeah.
A lot of my logs, I think I still have that maybe from way back then, but a lot of times I'd add something like, I really felt tired today, but I did a bike ride anyway.
Yeah. And would you use that to track like your fitness and your nutrition as well?
Uh, weight
Hmm.
and uh, fitness because back then I would do certain routes that were exactly the same,
Hmm.
and I would record the time.
Yeah.
So like in spring, I would go up to Pea Ridge Military Park
Hmm.
and ride that loop up there. It's the same distance every time. You don't really have car traffic, so you're never stopping. So early in the spring, I could check my fitness by going up there, doing, I'd always do a warm up lap and then 2 laps after that as fast as I could.
Hmm.
I could check my fitness. So throughout the year, I could always tell where I was fitness wise.
Okay.
Now there's a lot better ways nowadays to be able to check your fitness.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what that Travis made a whole business out of that.
Out of
But
that kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah, and same with Rider GPS. But yeah, no, that's interesting because like we have it really easy comparatively now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Thinking
Yeah.
about it, it's like, oh yeah, no, it used to be a lot harder because I remember, oh, like the fourth grade or PE teacher always like, yeah, if you're gonna get in running, you need to keep a log and track what you eat and how much you eat and how long you did the activity, and then he showed us the calculation for like body mass index and like
Oh
counting
wow.
calories, and he was a fitness which was really ironic because the guy was like he was built like a tank and he had a
Yeah.
beer gut.
Oh wow. And this is what year was that?
That would have been right around 2001,
And
2002.
that was in high school for you?
No, that was in like the fourth and fifth
Oh
grade.
wow.
Yeah,
That much back then, huh? That they
yeah,
was wanting you to do.
yeah. He was I guess he'd been like an Olympian or something back
Oh wow.
then. I don't remember his name,
Huh.
but we went to a private school there in Fayetteville, the Catholic school.
St. Joseph's?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it
Well,
was
ditto.
interesting.
Bonita.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, the reason I used the log back then is that tracking miles.
Mhm.
Uh, Often I think uh, people ask me, well, how many miles did you used to ride back then? Gosh, I know it's probably quite a bit,
Mhm.
but I can't give you a number.
Yeah.
I can't give you a number.
I remember my first bike computer I got was, like, in
It's one of those
2008. It
magnetic
was like a
things.
cat eye,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Mhm. It was a big deal because it was real expensive back then even, it was like
Yes.
$50.
Right. That was a lot back then. Yeah.
Yeah, no, in, like, 2008, that would've been a lot of money.
So the first one I had like that didn't, it just kept recording or kept counting even when you came to a stop sign.
Mhm.
So at the end of your ride, you could get the average speed from start to finish, right?
Yeah,
And then they came out with one that would stop the timer when you came to a
to
pause.
mhm.
And that was a big deal.
I think mine had, like, a 5-second delay. If, like,
Okay.
it didn't register another revolution within 5 seconds, it
It
would
would just
stop.
stop. Yeah.
So, it bumped the average up quite a bit.
Quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that was a big deal. Yeah.
yeah.
And of course, nowadays you got
It's all on our
a
phones.
Garmin or whatever on your phone,
Right.
So
Yeah. No, now it's like well, like I said, we're spoiled now
we're
comparatively.
it's nice. It's
Mhm.
nice, yeah. And the nice thing about it is Strava, one of the exercise apps. Uh, it's a social network too, right?
Mhm.
So I follow probably 200, 300 people around the world. They don't
Yeah.
necessarily follow me back, but I like to see what they're doing down in South America, in Mexico,
Mhm.
in the Middle East, in India, in Spain, in Germany, in Japan. I like to kind of see what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I think everybody knows that, cycling outside the United States is extrememely popular. It's
It's
extremely popular.
huge.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah, I went to Mexico in 2019, and I do remember seeing a high-end bike shop in just downtown, Chihuahua.
Oh, wow.
Didn't stop in, because like, I was there visiting family, and we were, pretty busy the whole time we were there, but I didn't get a chance to stop in. I didn't get a chance to bring my bikes with me either.
Oh, wow.
Didn't have enough space to carry it, so I wasn't able to cycle over there, and then my mom was like, "No, don't bring your bike because 'cause they'll steal it," and I'm like, "Fair enough." So I never got the chance to cycle down there, but
Yeah,
I do remember seeing some guys just sending it.
yeah.
They're people who are serious about it are very serious about
Oh,
it,
yeah. And
but
women too in
mhm,
foreign countries it's extremely popular, especially in the Far East.
yeah,
Thailand, Japan for sure. Uh, well, Vietnam they use them just for transportation.
yeah,
So a lot of the countries still obviously use them for transportation, but people have got to remember that the United States only has 4% of the whole world's population. Even though we're the third largest country by population, we're still only 4% of the population.
yeah.
So that other 96% of the population in the world, there's a lot of bike riders out there, like millions and millions of them.
Talk about the, early days of the Springdale Bike Club. What were those, original rides like?
Okay, let's go back a step further how it got started. So I first met Isaiah and Ron Harvey and some others on a bike ride that was done by Bike Springdale,
Mhm,
not Springdale Bike Club, but Bike Springdale. So way back in the early days, you had an advocacy uh, group called Bike NWA.
mhm.
That may still exist.
I've seen some stuff from them. I don't know. It's been a while though.
They kind of merged and became Trailblazers. I think it's Bike NWA, Trailblazers kind of
Mhm,
merged together. Um, Anyway, it was Bike NWA, and under Bike NWA, you had Bike Fayetteville, Bike Springdale, you might have had Bike Bentonville. And Keith Sams, who occasionally rides with us, started the group Bike Springdale.
okay.
So that's what we did. That's how our group kind of started, and we'd ride the Greenway. And Bike NWA, wanted Keith to keep a record of who showed up for the rides.
Mhm,
So in other words, they wanted paperwork done and all that kind of thing,
yeah.
and kind of had the rides went.
So, was that immediately after they finished building the trails? Because I remember the trails
Yes,
being built, like, around 2015 and
yes.
whatnot.
The first Saturday in May of 2015 was the official opening of the Razorback Greenway
Mhm,
from Walker Park all the way up to Bella Vista. That would have been 36 miles. Of course, they've changed it around since then. But I think we might celebrate. I'm going to probably want to celebrate because that'd be 10 years
10 years.
the first Saturday.
Yeah,
So Bike Springdale was how we all kind of first met. Well, we did that for quite a while on rides and stuff like that. But Keith wanted to start the group to let everyone know how to navigate the Razorback Greenway.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you just got on your bike and you thought you were on a trail, okay, this is the Razorback Greenway. At some point in time, there might be a trail going off, you
I
know,
remember there being a bit of a lack of continuity whenever I was riding down in Fayetteville,
right.
because some places would be a part of the official trail, other places would be you're on the road, and then it would pick up again. Something, but you had to know where it picked
You
up.
had nowhere picked up. And some of the cities already had trails, but in the early days, the Razorback Greenway was not really marked. You just had to know it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what Bike Springdale was set up to do, is let people know how to navigate the Razorback Greenway.
Yeah.
So Keith at some point um, just decided that not to carry on with Bike Springdale, especially because for him it was paperwork and
Yeah. That would.
keeping up with the people and making sure that no one was hurt. And
Mm-hmm.
if there's any accidents, I think he had to report that. So it was kind of more of a formal thing.
So they were trying to collect metrics and data off of the trail
Exactly,
system.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So after he basically said, "Hey, I'm going to back away from this," and so Isaiah, Chris, aka Punisher, um, Ray Hernandez, aka Daredevil, and so they started posting. Isaiah started the Springdale Bike Club Facebook page,
Mm-hmm.
and then they would just post, "Hey, we're doing a beginner ride, leaving from Shiloh Square, Fat Tire. If you want to join us."
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of did, thinking it was a beginner ride, and it really was a beginner ride. But more people kind of started showing up, and we started making longer rides. And they were fun rides because exploring the Greenway, a lot of people had never really ridden it from, start to end and back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but one, it wasn't a complaint, but it was definitely what people noticed is, okay, we'd do a 30-mile ride, and it would take 4 hours because we'd stop at every donut place,
Yeah.
every coffee shop, any place to get a snack, and sometimes we'd stop for lunch. And so by the time we left, say at 9 o'clock, we might be one or two before we got back, and we'd ridden 30 miles.
Mm.
So it wasn't so much a complaint, it was just kind of what we did, right?
Yeah.
So over the years, that kind of changed a little bit, but that's kind of always what we've been. So we started that in the spring of 2016. Summer of 2016 was when Springdale Bike Club officially, I would say officially started.
Okay.
And then the Taco Tuesday ride started about November of that year.
All
So
right.
Isaiah, he started the Springdale Bike Club page. It was private at first, but then he made it public.
Like to congratulate you on your recent achievement of 200 Taco Tuesdays.
Ooh. So that's what we were talking about Strava. We
Mm-hmm.
can use it as a way to catalog all our rides.
Yeah.
If you use Strava for every ride, you'll see it right there
Mm-hmm.
for years and years and years. So one day last year, one afternoon, I decided to count the number of Taco Tuesday rides. So I went back year by year, week by week by week,
Mm-hmm.
and it took a couple afternoons. And I think I counted like 156. I thought, oh my gosh, I've done that many?
Mm-hmm.
I remember obviously the very first ones, and I can remember the recent ones, but all that in the middle,
Yeah.
that's just like memory, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just sort of lose all that.
Well, it's like we do the same thing over and over again. And it's like about the only thing I really remember from Taco Tuesday rides is whenever I got to fix a flat, because it disrupts the flow of everything. But it seems like we do the same thing every week. But that's
Pretty
that's
much.
that's nice.
But and so that's kind of like life. Like every day in your life, it could be similar to the day before or the day after, except for tragic events and
Hmm.
extremely pleasant or happy events, right? So you remember those tragic events and you remember the real pleasurable ones.
Hmm.
All this stuff in the middle, it's kind of like hard to remember.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of like bike rides. We always remember like when we were on a bike ride and it poured like hell on us.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
we froze like hell. We remember those.
or
Or
it
burn up
snowed.
like, yeah, snow.
Yeah.
Or burned up. And
Is that your favorite ride that we do through the club, or is that your favorite ride in
uh,
general? Or
I
is,
tell people, just be consistent. So I've tried to be consistent with that.
hmm.
I think it's more of a social meet and greet ride where we can point people in a direction that might help them.
Yeah.
So like if somebody shows up the ride and they're obviously it's not gonna be their thing. We can point them in a different area. We can say, "Hey, you got the
Mhm.
Fayetteville Wheelmen, you got Ozark Roadies, you got
Mhm.
BMC even." Or maybe when they show up on that ride and they can barely make that ride or do the ride,
Mhm.
and we can just encourage them, make it more than one ride a week, right?
Yeah.
Be consistent, but try to get out there a few times a week, and then if you do that, then the Taco Tuesday rides will get a little bit easier, and then maybe you can join us on a
Mm.
Saturday ride. So consistency, I think, has always been my mantra,
Yeah.
um, especially for bike riding. You just can't really show up once a week or have big goals, but never really get in a pattern where you reach those goals.
Right.
And people get discouraged. So they'll show up for Taco Tuesday ride and they get discouraged because everybody's leaving them. Well, that's the only ride you do every week.
Mhm.
So,
How did the, Taco Tuesday ride come to be? Was that just like
okay, so I think it was Isaiah, maybe Punisher, maybe Daredevil. As as better lighting, affordable bike lighting happened with high intensity LED lights,
Mhm.
and the greenway happened. Normally, people didn't want to ride on the road at night, and even if you had lights, a lot of times they were just basically like a incandescent,
Mhm.
small, just didn't cast enough light to be safe. So once high intensity LED lights became more affordable, then the greenway at night became rideable
Mhm.
and became fun. So a couple of those guys on just kind of a fun thing, just one Tuesday, just got out there and just rode down to Fayetteville and back. And I think they posted, wow, that was really fun, and people started saying, what was that about? Well, we rode at night on the greenway. Oh, you did? Are you going to do it again? We can.
Yeah.
And okay, so people started noticing it, and it
Mhm.
was so much fun. I think the first ones were like when it was starting to get cold, but when it's cold, there's hardly anybody around
Yeah.
Lake Fayetteville walking or riding. Those first rides were so much fun. We might have had 6, 8, 10 people, something like that, but it was so much fun just to be out on your bike at night, riding on a safe trail, safe
Mhm.
path. And that's how it started. Now, we didn't call them Taco Tuesday because Mr. Taco Loco wasn't a business at that time.
Mhm.
We called them Tuesday Night Lights Ride. And I think we started at 6 o'clock and then moved it down to 6:30 and eventually to 7 o'clock. When Mr. Taco Loco opened, that's when we started calling it Taco Tuesday.
Mhm.
And in the beginning, after the ride, we would go into Mr. Taco Loco and there would be nobody there, maybe a handful of people, hardly anybody. We had that whole place to ourselves. So we basically sat up there on the bar
Mhm.
and just had the whole place. It was so much fun. We had the whole place. We could get, 99-cent tacos. We could get all the beer right there quickly.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the word got around that Mr. Taco Loco was doing this. And all of a sudden, well, you know how it is now.
Yeah, it's pretty busy
It's
now.
pretty packed,
It's hard to get a seat.
hard to go to seat.
So, when did we start doing the, outside sitting or sitting outside and
Was that this past year or the year before?
I don't know, cause like, it's always been a thing since I've been going there.
Okay. Were you riding in 2023?
2023, probably, like, late 2022.
Okay.
Well, May of, like, 2022, because that's whenever I, departed from Lewis and Clark.
So we were already sitting outside then?
I feel like we were sitting outside because I remember, we had a big enough group those first couple. Because like, the first ride I went and rode with y'all was probably, like, 30 or 40 people.
Okay.
It was a
It's a
big
big group,
ride,
yeah.
and Travis was real happy about that because I think we had 2 flights that night.
Yeah, uh, every year it changes, and when Travis came along, Brett came along after the pandemic and kind of got the ridership up higher.
Mhm,
Brett is one to like to uh, post information on Facebook,
mhm,
encourage people to come out. So the ridership increased, and then Travis came along and it increased even more. And then we got Mr. Taco Loco to sponsor us.
mhm.
Well, during that same time, for the community, Mr. Taco Loco is very popular on Taco Tuesday night.
Yeah,
So at some point in time, Travis just, you know what? Let's get tables out here
yeah,
because there's no way you can fit 25 or 30 people in a full Mr. Taco Loco
mhm.
on a Tuesday night ride. It just wouldn't work.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
So I guess it started in 2020, maybe late 2022. It's 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah.
But that works out really good.
Yeah, no, it's, works out pretty well. Just we don't have to worry about seating as much, and then
Not as
you know
much,
they're
yeah.
very accommodating. The city of Springdale has been pretty accommodating with us as well.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people, especially me, I've been retired 11 years now. Um, the Taco Tuesday ride is just a way to catch up with friends.
Hmm.
You'll see people there that you might not see at any other time
Yeah.
during the week. So it's just like a big social thing. Um, so I tell people, yeah, we do the Taco Tuesday ride, but really the meaning is probably it to be a social gathering where you can meet and greet
Yeah.
and maybe make other plans for bike riding, or you can, like what I was saying earlier, we could point people in other directions if they need something
Hmm.
different than just riding up and down the greenway, that kind of thing, you know.
For sure. Yeah. I think I've met a majority of the people I ride with now through the Taco Tuesday ride. So we'll
Probably right, yeah.
yeah.
And it's amazing, like when it gets warm, like May,
People
June,
just come out of
July,
the
it's
woodworks.
like 40, 50 people in some of the big rides, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I remember that last big one we had last year. That was what was that? I think it was 45 something.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. I think the biggest I've seen is probably like 47, 48.
Something like that, yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen it over
Quite
50.
50, yeah.
Yeah. What's next on the horizon for you as far as cycling goes?
Well, of course, everybody knows I did my first gravel ride
Mhm.
yesterday afternoon, so that was interesting.
Are you going to pursue longer and more epic distances?
We'll see. We'll see. You know, I think anyone watching this podcast knows that, you know, you have road bike riding,
Mhm.
road bike racing, you have mountain biking, obviously,
Mhm.
and then you have folks that ride e-bikes, which that bike is completely different. You have to learn how to deal with that. It's completely different. And of course, you got different types of bikes, and then you got gravel bike riding, which is even completely different. You know, so all those segments are completely different. So
Yeah. How'd that stack up? Because like I always told people whenever I was selling bikes is like your green wheel bikes are about 1 to 1 as far as like difficulty per mile,
right,
and then road riding is like 1.2 to 1,
right.
and then your gravel riding is about 1.5 times as hard as the greenway riding, and then mountain biking is like twice as hard, and
Oh,
you wear yourself out.
that's probably good. That's a good example right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but did it hold up to that?
Yes, and for me, once I started riding my e-bike a lot last year, starting around May, riding it mostly on the Saturday rides, my fitness has gone down,
Mm-hmm.
but my funness on bike riding has gone up. So
Mm,
fitness down, funness up. So yesterday, that was a real bike ride. So I definitely could feel my fitness is
mm-hmm.
not where it should be, even normally.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I had to kind of work through my fitness is not good
Okay.
through a different surface, you know. So I think when I left yesterday, I told everyone that I need to trust myself, I need to trust my bike, and I need to trust my tires when I get on gravel.
Mm-hmm.
Because normally um, on a road bike, you don't want to hit any kind of gravel, right?
Oh yeah.
Or any
No.
kind of rocks. And I kept thinking that same thing. Well, wait a minute, I've got a gravel bike with gravel tires. I can just ride straight down, you know,
Mm-hmm.
in this, you know.
That was the thing whenever I was riding that Freedom 40 ride.
Uh-huh.
You would see all the road cyclists just like quail. They'd scatter over the road and then just be a little pebble like that. And I'm like, huh. But I'm also riding like 2-inch
That's
tires.
true, yeah.
So it's like those things like that don't scare me. But you know, Arkansas's got a lot of good gravel. Then they've got some scary gravel too. Cause like
Yeah.
there's some spots out there in Goshen where the rocks are about as big as your head.
Wow.
So,
So you have to ride through those, huh?
well, they're on the shoulder of the road generally, but
Wow.
did you see that spot where the rocks had slid down in that
Yesterday?
dirt? Yeah, that dirt road on
Yeah.
around that big curve.
Yeah, I remember because I almost hit that, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that, and Matt Barlow, he was coming just as fast as he could, and I signaled for it. He went around me, and I was like, "Oh, there's Matt." I guess he caught up to us, and he said,
Yeah. I think you started there, right?
"Well, he started about 20 minutes after we
Oh,
did."
is that what it was?
Yeah, and he
Okay.
caught up because he went to Goshen,
Oh.
rode that gravel ride, then came over here with
Oh,
us and
wow.
rode in Bentonville.
So you did 2 gravel rides
So,
yesterday, huh?
well, Charlie was telling me he's looking at the stats from Strava, and
Mhm.
he said he got like 50 miles yesterday. So he had a pretty
Wow.
good ride yesterday.
So I think gravel bike riding for me will be fine. I need to get my fitness back up and then
Hmm.
maybe do more entry level gravel rides, kind of like
Yeah.
yesterday, you know, before I can trust myself because I don't want to fall. You know,
Oh no.
I
Yeah.
stopped mountain biking about 20 years ago because I don't want to fall at my age.
Hmm.
Everybody knows I'm 71. So yeah, I don't want to fall, break a hip. Don't want to do that or break a shoulder or
Hmm.
collarbone. So I'll have to get confidence up on the bike and trust the bike, trust the tires. So
Yeah.
that'll come.
You got any good tips for any people starting out, or and the veteran cyclists tips?
Um, yes, we've already talked about that. Just be consistent and don't get discouraged. Don't compare yourself with anyone when you're first starting to
I see a
ride.
lot of that,
Yeah,
and it's hard. It's hard not to do that.
it's hard not to do.
Yeah, because you want to be up there with the guys in the front, just racing to your heart's content.
Right. Don't
But
get discouraged. The Greenway is open 24/7. If you can squeeze out time sometime by yourself, especially during the day, the Greenway is going to be safe.
hmm
I know folks tell me that, uh, especially women will tell me that they don't feel safe sometimes in the Greenway, but generally in the day, I think it's going to be as safe as any place, anywhere, even if
yeah,
you're walking on the sidewalk or even in your car. I mean, um, you can get hit in your car. That's not safe, right? So
no,
if you can just, even if you can eke out only 15 or 20 minutes to do maybe 3 or 4 miles, just do it. You got to get consistent and you got to um, get confidence on your bike and you got to get fit. But please do not compare yourself to other people.
all right.
And don't compare your bike to other people's bikes either.
Yeah, no, that's another thing too. But speaking on that consistency thing, I think what really helped me because I remember doing that, riding to and from like just like real short hops.
Hmm.
Because I'd go down to the Mexican grocery store down the street from my house. It was less than a mile,
Right.
but I had that basket on the back of my bike, so I could just go get my day's worth of groceries and ride back, or I'd go to Walmart
Oh,
over
wow.
here, and that helped out a lot.
Yeah.
That built up quite a bit of stamina.
That's something, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah. Just a little bit here and there.
yeah,
And you can do other exercise too. Um, almost any other exercise is going to help with cycling.
hmm
I don't know that cycling necessarily helps with a lot of other exercise. Like for instance, running, I think helps with cycling. I don't think cycling necessarily will help with running.
yeah. It's a different group set of muscles, isn't it?
Right, right.
Yeah,
Because like right now, I don't think I could run a quarter mile. I mean, I could ride 40 miles.
I could probably do a 40-meter dash, and that's about it. And then I'd be winded.
Right, right. But
Yeah.
running, you build up your heart and lungs,
hmm
obviously. And so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So
Your breathing techniques as well.
breathing, yeah,
Yeah.
and you get fit. So just as a beginner bike rider, if you want to get into cycling, be consistent. Don't get discouraged. Don't compare yourself with anyone else. Maybe you can say, "Hey, I want to be like that person,"
Yeah.
uh, but don't compare yourself to that person right now.
Mhm.
And we see that happen quite often. Someone will start riding with us, and they realize, you know, I'm just too slow for your guys. I'm just dragging you all down, and that's hard to hear.
Mhm. Well, yeah, it's because you want everybody to be in that, and everybody that comes to feel welcome, and it's
Right,
hard.
right.
It's hard sometimes because I remember, from being an outward observer, whenever we rode the Taco Tuesdays with Lewis and Clark, we'd always catch the guys that were just racing at the front of the pack, and then we'd see the rest of the pack coming through,
Right,
and we always thought that you guys were just flying down the greenway,
right.
but in all reality, it's probably just one or two guys that were,
Yeah, I think it's changed a little bit. We try to
yeah.
stay together at least till we get to Fayetteville.
Yeah, no,
Try and hang together.
that's probably one of the bigger things too, because keeping a pack together all the way through till get the back on the back end there.
Mhm.
But usually by that time of the night anyway, it's less crowded. There's less traffic, and then
Right.
the people it gives the guys who do run back and beat everybody back that they can go and set up the tables for us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Yeah, yeah. Or if you're a little bit ahead of me, you're up there to push the button, and I don't
Oh
have to.
yeah. Yeah. No, we got nothing like being the guy that gets to push the button.
So yeah, yeah, just go at it, be confident,
hmm
have a goal in mind, and be consistent, and you'll get there.
What's your favorite place to ride? You have like a favorite section or segment that you like to
Well,
do?
one reason I get quite a few miles on Strava, obviously I'm retired, so I can
hmm
ride anytime I want, but I just live a mile from Lake Springdale Trailhead. And from my house to that is basically downhill. So I would say most every day I'm going to be riding on the Greenway. The most beautiful section is from like downtown Springdale to Lake Springdale Trailhead. That 3 mile section right there is
That is a very pretty
the
section. And
most beautiful.
it's one of my favorite places to fish.
Oh, down Lake Springdale.
Well, no, that creek that runs all the way up and
Oh,
down there, because
there.
there's plenty of spots there that if we have little pools of water to fish in.
So you just stop.
Yeah, I'll just stop. If you
Okay.
look at my Strava, it's like I average about 8 miles an hour whenever I'm going fishing, and that's
Right.
why, because I'll sit and stop. Heck, sometimes I don't even get off the bike.
Oh, really? And there's fish down there, huh? You
There's
just catch and throw them back
Yeah,
in.
just catch and throw. It's
Yeah.
all little small stuff, so
Oh,
it's
okay.
nothing, nothing worth writing home about, but they're fun to catch.
Of course, Lake Springdale, they stock that.
Oh yeah, they have trout there, and I've never caught a trout out of that.
Really.
Yeah, I need to go and probably I could probably go right now because there's probably still some trout in there. But
So while we're talking about it, though, what we mentioned earlier is the Razorback Greenway officially opened the
hmm
first Saturday of May in 2015.
yeah,
So that 10 years passed pretty quickly, right?
hmm
So in the next 2 to 3 years, there's going to be so many new trails built in Fayetteville, Springdale, Bentonville.
yeah. I'm really excited for that offshoot that's going to connect Emma all the way to or from the high school to the other high school.
Yes,
That will be a boon.
that's happening right now as we're talking.
hmm
They're still trying to figure out the exact route. There's a couple of options.
hmm
So basically, it's going to be from Springdale High School to Harbor High School, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to be called the Pride of Springdale Trail.
Yeah, well, that was always my big complaint whenever they built the trails. Like they just built like hell trying to get north and south,
Right, right.
and then probably about 2020, it seemed like they just tapered off on anything, and it's been just that north and south trail.
Right.
Now, Dean's Trail, they did get that complete, and that's the newest offshoot that I know of. But
They've completed 3 parts of 4 parts,
mhm.
right? So they still have one more part,
And that's the part that brings it to 264, or is that 265?
265.
265.
So the fourth part, basically part one, part two, part 3A, and 3B, basically four
Mm-hmm.
parts. 3A is 99.9% finished.
Mm-hmm.
So you can ride down to Don Tyson
Yeah.
Bridge, and you can go through the bridge, but it doesn't really go that much further. But they're currently working on that. Eventually, it will go down, and there'll be a bridge over 265.
And bring it to Lake Fayetteville,
Lake Fayetteville Trail between
right there where that little bridge is at. That goes over the tail end of the lake there.
kind of like between the botanical gardens
Mm-hmm.
and that rock structure that we hit when we first hit it.
Yeah.
It'll be in between there.
Gotcha.
So it's going to
Okay.
and it's basically going to split the Springdale Fayetteville city line
Okay. It'll ride the line.
yeah,
Yeah.
boundary. So come over 265 and then hit right down in there.
That'll be a good one to go down.
Yes, so that'd be a nice
Yeah.
loop. And
Well, I've taken video of riding down, because I've gone all the way down 265 from the corner by the Jones Center all the way down to Lake Fayetteville, and that's not a
oh,
bad ride. But
on the lane right there.
yeah, on the
Oh boy.
lane. But if you're not used to riding in traffic, that's like
I know.
every time those cars come by you and you feel that gust of wind, it's a little unnerving. But
It's Sunday morning, early would be the best time to ride it.
I think I did that on like a Tuesday morning one time
Really?
because,
Okay.
well, I worked at the bike shop and the bike shop didn't open till 10
Okay.
most days. So it's like if I didn't have to be at work, I'd get up real early and ride from Goshen. And it was like 17 miles from my parents' house out there in Goshen,
Oh wow.
and 1,700 feet of climbing, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Damn.
mountainous out there.
70. Wow, that's like over
But
100. Yeah. Wow.
and sometimes I'd camp out at my aunt's house there and take all my camping gear with me into work, then to catch a shower at work because they had a shower over there,
Hmm.
which was nice, but they did have people cycling in and out. So
Wow.
yeah, but I do that portion of the trail is kind of underrepresented.
Right. Yeah.
But it's also not for the faint of heart.
Yeah. I've seen a couple of people ride it, but those cars, I think the speed limit is 40,
45, I want to say,
45,
and
but
people are usually doing about 55.
at least, yeah.
hmm
I've never ridden it. I years and years ago, we used to ride 265 when it was just a 2-lane.
Mm-hmm.
We do that sometimes, but the traffic is 1/4 what it is now.
Yeah. I I remember riding 265 back in like 2009. We went to that private school over there at the Fayetteville Christian School,
Mhm.
and we were out for school one day, and they still had school. So I was like, "Oh, I'll go over there and have lunch with those guys."
Oh,
And
wow.
I did, and then I rode back, and it didn't seem bad at the time, but I was probably about 14, 15
Okay.
whenever I did that.
Well, neat.
Yeah.
So there, that trail will be finished probably within 2 years. The Pride of Springdale Trail will be finished to get over to the harbor area
Mhm.
because ever since the Greenway was built, so the Greenway was built with funds from the Walton Family
Mhm.
Foundation. They supported that, plus other federal funds and then local city funds. But after the Greenway was finished, it was up to the cities to take care of the trails in their city boundaries. And any additional trails, the city had to figure out how to get money to pay
Yeah.
for that.
And I imagine that's probably that's where we're at right now with everything else. But that's
Yeah,
why they focused on because that's the longest section between all the cities and connects. It's kind of nice how all the cities are just in a nice little straight line going from north to south here.
right.
But they were also what was that 540 back in the day? They were built basically alongside 540.
Yeah. So,
Um,
so Springdale, downtown Springdale is the only downtown where the trail actually goes through it. Think about
hmm
that. It doesn't go through the downtown Fayetteville because downtown is actually up
Yeah.
high. It doesn't go through downtown of Rogers. It
hmm
will eventually, and it doesn't really go down, well, kind of downtown Bentonville a little bit, but Springdale goes straight through downtown Springdale.
Yeah. And that mile 16 was that always a real prominent feature there because they made the big sign and everything and the memorial plaque.
So originally, the Razorback Greenway started at Walker Park. That was
hmm
mile 0.
Yeah.
So there was no trail that went all the way down to Mount Kessler, right?
hmm
So Springdale was mile 13.
Okay.
And so when they added on the trail to Mount Kessler, a couple years after that, they decided to renumber the Razorback Greenway.
Hmm.
So when they renumbered it, that was also about the time that they were uh, redoing Emma and doing some other nice things
Yeah.
downtown. And they decided, oh, this mile 16, let's put up that big thing.
Mm.
So that all happened about that same time.
Okay.
But originally it was mile 13, now it's
Yeah.
mile 16. Yeah.
I remember going down to Walker Park. Have you been down those little sections of trail that are over there by the industrial park?
No, I haven't.
Yeah. That was like an unkempt offshoot there. And I remember cycling that one time. I was like, I kept following the greenway, and then I finally got there, and I was like, I think I took a wrong turn or something because it literally stopped,
Oh,
and there was no sign or anything saying what this is the end.
oh. There's these hidden little trails all over the place.
Yeah.
Um, so back to what we were talking about, new upcoming trails. So we'll be able to, in the future, once they finish it, ride trails down to Gully Park.
hmm
And out of Gully Park, they're working on trails coming out of Gully Park that will eventually get us over to Wilson Park. Now, Wilson Park, we pass on the Greenway when we're going uh, to Fayetteville, right?
hmm
When we go up that climb that goes up to Maple, well, Wilson Park is over to the east.
Yeah.
You can kind of see it almost.
hmm
So there will be a trail you can get off right there and ride back through Midtown Fayetteville on side pass
hmm
to Gully Park. So that would be another loop that we can do.
Okay.
And then there's going to be another
So
loop.
is it going to go and kind of connect that historic district and that probably like was that Spring Street over there? That's or no, it's not Spring Street.
It's
Is
going to
it
be
Spring
a little
Street?
bit
That's
south of that.
okay.
And then you can kind of see them building it. If you drive around, you can kind of see how it's going to work out.
hmm
Probably by the end of next year, all that's going to be done.
Okay.
And then there'll be another trail on Sycamore that connects like, oh, what I call Porter Road, where we cross Sycamore, we cross Poplar, Sycamore before you get to North Street. Well, Sycamore is building trails right now that's going to go down that
hmm
James Carr Road.
Yeah.
Uh, in fact, that I think it's almost finished. We'll be able to ride up to I-49, and then you got the Meadow Valley Trail, which I call the
Oh,
Ag Ride Trail.
the right there by the university and the chicken houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can take that trail. So there's going to be these new loops that we'll be able to do all over the place.
hmm
And if they get the Pride of Springdale Trail, that'll be another thing that we can do. And also, right now the bridge over I-49 is there. If you
Mhm.
notice, as you're kind of driving
Mhm.
between like the Holiday Inn exit and Elm Springs exit, that bridge is already over it. It's
Yeah.
not finished, but it's over it. So you can look up, oh, there it is. That's what
Mhm.
it's going to be, a street with a side path on it. So they'll also, where it comes over Emma on 4th Street, they're going to build a side path on 40th to go down and connect to the side path that leads to the nature center.
Mm.
So from the nature center, there's going to be a side path all the way up to the Emma Street, where that
Mhm.
side path is currently right
Okay.
now.
Yeah, I know where that side path ends over there on the nature center because like you can walk up and come up to it. Is it
Right.
going to come up underneath the bridge there at the highway? Do you know?
Okay, so that's a different path. So the 40th path, the 40th side street will go from Emma,
Mhm.
like Emma is right here. This
Yeah.
this is Emma. We'll go from there all the way down and connect to the
Okay.
side path that goes from the nature center up to
Oh, so it's going to come up 40 that big path that's on 40th then.
yep,
Okay. Yeah,
where
and
it comes up
then
to the school, Falcon Road.
yeah, and then Bacchus, I think Bacchus is on the
Bacchus has a painted lane right now.
yeah, it's got a pain lane, but I think it's supposed to get an upgrade at some point in the
It
near
could
future.
be, yeah.
Okay.
So there's going to be that, and
That'll make a nice little loop then.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, and
Yeah.
then there is plans to what they call the Spring Creek Trail that goes past the nature center
Mhm.
all the way where it stops right there, and you can see I-49.
Mhm.
Eventually, they do want to go under that and kind of bring it up to the Shaw Park area. That's being talked about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, and that'd be neat too, because that
Right.
if you've got those 2 points across the bridge, that's the
I-49,
main
yeah.
thing that's kinda is dividing everything is that as 49,
Right, right.
and that's a hard one to get over or under, depending on where you're at.
Yeah, you can cross it on a wagon wheel.
Mhm.
Um,
I used to go I would ride my bike to work whenever I worked at the, tractor dealership over there in Town. And it'd be early in the morning, it'd be about, 7:30 or so in the morning, but still at 7:30 in the morning, it was wall to wall traffic,
yeah.
and going down, 412, I always got funny looks.
Man, you're taking your life in your hand,
Oh, yeah.
huh?
There's one time in particular, I almost got clipped by an old a man in a Tacoma.
Oh, wow. You remember that, huh?
Yeah, specifically remember that because he sped up, made a turn real quick, and pulled into the gas station. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep on riding because, you know, and that's the thing too. Whenever you ride enough and you've ride enough on the road,
Yeah,
you're good friends with death.
yeah, yeah.
You come to a lot of close calls.
Yeah, so that reminds me that, people yell.
Hmm.
That's always gonna happen.
Oh yeah,
I don't know that it happens as much as it used to, but people yell, people beep. That doesn't bother me though, because if
mm,
they're yelling or beeping, that means they see me.
right.
If what I'm worried about is people that don't see me.
Yeah,
People that
I think that's what happened with that gentleman there. He didn't see me coming down the road, or
right.
he misjudged how fast I was going because I was doing probably 21, 22 miles an hour.
Oh,
I was hoofing it because I was trying to get past that intersection because that intersection will kill you.
yeah,
Even in a car, that intersection is rough,
yeah.
but
S
it's a lot better than it used to be, especially after they opened up 612.
yes,
Yeah.
yep. And of course, they're gonna build a side path from Fayetteville all the way up to probably Cave Springs when they redo 112. I guess
Okay.
most
Yeah.
people have heard about that. I think they're gonna widen. People have said they're gonna widen 112 into 4 lane. I don't think it's 4 lane. I think it's gonna be 2 lane with a big center lane,
Mm-hmm.
and then a side path on the east side, 12-foot side path, kind of like the Razorback Green, but
Yeah.
on the east side. There'll be roundabouts all the way up through there, like,
Mm.
I don't know, 2 or 3 dozen more roundabouts all the way up through there.
Yeah.
So they might start breaking ground soon, and I
Yeah.
just hope in my lifetime that happens, that we see that side path all the way up,
That would be nice to ride.
you know?
That would definitely be a fun path because
What could get you from part A to part B. Uh,
right? Being able to go up to 112, we could ride to all the gravel locations we want to go to,
right,
you
right.
know.
But
Would have
riding
to
on
dri
112 is just too dangerous,
Oh yeah, no,
it's too dangerous.
it's very
Occasionally, I'll see somebody out and I think, "Oh, what are you doing? You're gonna get killed," you know?
see I rode up now that section between like Pleasant Grove and Cave Springs. That's not bad. I've ridden up and down that. Me and Don rode down that one time.
Yeah.
We went fishing over there.
Okay.
But yeah, that section between Springdale and Cave Springs is kind of treacherous,
Yeah.
especially between Fayetteville and Springdale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I tell people just hang on. Next 2 or 3 years, there's going to be, right now we just kind of ride up
Hmm.
north on the Greenway, ride back south. But in the future, 2 to 3 years now, there's going to be a lot of loops, a lot of other
Hmm.
things we can do, a lot of things we can do on those loops.
Yeah.
And people say, "What, that's too long." I said, the Greenway is almost 10 years old, right? Oh, yeah.
There's really hidden gems that along the Greenway that you
Fossil Cove has always been one of my favorite. I don't
well
know that it's a hidden gem.
no, not well. It's a little off the beaten path.
So that's always
It's
been kind of a hidden gem. They open up early.
hmm
And if you want a 7 o'clock beer, you can have it, but
yeah.
I'm not into that thing. But lately, I just haven't been drinking as much, so I
Hmm.
don't go there. But that's a nice place. That's a
Yeah.
nice place to go. City Park in Fayetteville. When you go before you get to North Street, if you look down to the right or to the west,
Oh, that
there's
little pump track that's there.
well, no, City Park uh, food, City
Mm.
Park food, right? I think it's called City
Oh,
Park.
the food trucks over there. Yeah.
Well, it's actually a permanent building,
Hmm.
where you go up to the table and you take and scan the uh, scan code on the table.
Hmm.
And one side it's uh, alcoholic drinks, and the other side it's food. Yeah,
Mm.
that's kind of a hidden gem. It's
Okay.
really popular. Like when it gets warmer on game day, it'll be popular.
Okay.
We've stopped there a few times. City Park. So you can see it on the Greenway. It's just before you get to North Street, just look right down and you'll see that area right down there. And
Okay.
they're going to build a little path right up to the Greenway. I think the folks that own that are going to do that,
Nice.
or maybe the city's going to do that. So
Yeah.
that's kind of a hidden gem. Um, of course, you get up to Bentonville. Uh, like last night, we went to Peddler. Some of us went to Peddler's Pub after the
Hmm.
ride. That's a great place for cyclists.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get to from right now. It's easy to get to because the Greenway goes through uh, the Walmart home office.
Hmm.
So that's a nice hidden gem. I think a lot of people know about
Yeah.
Peddler's Pub.
Yeah.
And of course, you got Smoke and Oak Pizza, which is right off the trail in Fayetteville. We've gone there a couple times,
Hmm.
and they have their uh, weekday special at noon. I think it's $10. You get a pizza and a drink for $10.
Oh,
That's
it's
not
not
too bad.
bad.
Yeah.
No, it's not bad at all.
So Springdale Bike Club has gone there a few times. Smoking Oak Pizza,
Yeah.
right off of
That's college and
it's
Martin Luther King, isn't it?
no, that's not that far down. It's right across from Academy of Sports
Oh, okay.
when you're on the
Yeah.
Mud Creek
It's
Trail.
that big tap room pizza place, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I
So
know where you're.
that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
That's easy to get to on a bike.
Hmm.
And in a lot of these places, you can easily go by yourself.
Yeah.
And I kind of do that sometimes. And of
Uh,
course, you got some nice. Oh, downtown Springdale's got a lot of really good places now for
hmm.
food that they welcome cyclists. Of course they
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. No. We used to go to Taqueria Dongueros. Then here recently we've been. I remember Taco. Do you remember when Taqueria Dongueros opened? Because it's been open for a
I think
long.
it's been open before Mr. Taco Loco, maybe,
I
or about
remember
the
it
same
being
time.
open whenever I was in high school,
Okay,
and it was probably open a long time before that. So I don't know
yeah.
how long it's been there exactly.
So used to after Mr. Taco Loco or Taco Tuesday, some of the folks would go over there and get food,
Hmm.
and we used to usually end up at M Avenue Bar and Tap.
Hmm.
So when Mr. Taco Loco got too busy, we would grab our food to take out, go over to M Avenue Bar and Tap and sit in the cold weather inside. And the owners were fine with us bringing food because
Yeah.
they don't do food.
Yeah.
Or we'd sit on the back patio. But we kind of changed that. Really, our numbers would be too big to.
Yeah, we're a pretty good sized group most nights.
And a lot of times in the summertime, that back patio is going to be full anyway.
Yeah.
But like I say, they would go down there to get tacos, and they go with Mr. Taco Loco, and then we'd all kind of meet in the
Mm.
beginning. But you got Rain Sushi now, which is good. Kitakara
Mhm.
is a good ramen place, and you got Homegrown, of course. And then is it Magnolia Cafe now? That's going to be open next to the Bauhaus.
There's the Onyx Cafe that's supposed to go in there.
Onyx is about
Yeah,
to open right next to
and
where
that
Fat
they got
Tire.
named like the second best coffee house in the
Whole world,
world.
whole
Yeah,
world, yeah.
yeah. So number one in the United States apparently.
Hope they keep those #1 prices down though, you know.
I don't know. I like their coffee. It was a little. I don't. I never made my way whenever they were over there on Township. I never did make my way over there very often.
Yeah, they were out in Harbor Meadows area there for a while.
Mm,
They shut down, you know.
yeah,
And then of course Fat Tire Springdale's moving.
yeah.
I guess most folks know about it. If you don't know about it, it's going to be in the old Bank of America building that's just south of when we go on our Taco Tuesday ride. If you cross Meadow, just look right there to the left,
Hmm.
to the east, and that's the old Bank of America building right behind the
Are they
Bank of.
going to do a? Are they going to do like a little offshoot of the trail for that to accommodate
Well, they
cyclists, or is
kind
it?
of there is kind of an offshoot right there right now. Yeah, I mean you can easily ride there
Yeah, you
off the
can easily
trail.
ride there, but there's also that little ATM deal
ATM there.
that's always full. It seems like there's people there at all times of the day, no matter
I
what you
know.
do.
They're always backed up right there, you know.
Yeah.
There's that trail actually goes across there
Hmm.
down Meadow, and there's a sign that says "Do not block the trail."
Hmm. They still
Well,
do.
well, if you want to get off of Meadow, you have to pull in there, you know,
Yeah.
unless you want your car out. But yeah, so they're remodeling that right now. Originally, they thought they would be open in April, but it's going to be. I talked to Danny the other day, and he said maybe June or July
Yeah.
at the progress that they're doing.
Are they going to still stay in the building that they're in
Nope.
till no?
Oh, till they move.
Yeah.
Yes, till
Okay.
they move. Yeah. So, but the nice thing about it is there'll be plenty of parking.
Mm.
So now, if you go to uh, Fat Tire on a busy day, busy weekday, you might have to park. Well, you know, a few steps away, but now you'll just be able to pull right up to it because there's a lot of parking spaces
Yeah.
with that old Bank of America. So that's nice. So that's a nice
That'd be
change.
neat. Yeah.
So Magnolia, I think they call it Magnolia Cafe, will have a new uh, Mexican restaurant there and some other things, maybe a gift shop, maybe a artsy place
Hmm.
that's going to be right next, just south of Bauhaus,
Yeah.
you know, where that food truck is, German food truck, and that little tap room back there
Hmm.
where the uh, mural house is. That is Holcomb right there. So just south, right across the street, is going to be, in fact, it's already open.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so like you say, those hidden gems, downtown Springdale's got all those hidden gems.
Yeah.
Odd soul, you know, not hidden, but everybody knows about that.
The pizza there.
Pizza's good, isn't
Yeah, the
it?
odd soul pizza is man, it's hard to beat.
It's hard to beat, yeah.
I would never thought putting honey on a pizza.
They do that in the morning?
No, that's the sauce, the glaze that's on it's
Oh,
honey.
oh, really?
Yeah, and it's like, huh, because they've got those maraschino peppers on there and everything, and
Yeah.
it's kind of it's tangy and sweet,
Oh,
and
neat. I don't think I've had that one yet.
that's their signature pizza.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Charlie usually gets that. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
we
I
have to
remember
bum a slice off of him next time we ride.
one day I remember um, there were 6 of us that went over there after a ride,
Hmm.
and we all kind of came in at different times, but everybody ordered a pizza.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, there's 6 of the pizzas. Well, Marsha came in last and ordered a pizza, and she came over to the table and she said, "You know what? We should have thought about this before everybody ordered a pizza. There was so much food
Yeah.
for the 6 of us, you know."
Yeah. No.
That's funny. It's just one of those things.
Right.
But yeah, plenty of places downtown uh, Bentonville. We don't ride into downtown Rogers unless we get on the rail yard. So that's
Yeah,
a little
that's
bit
a
off.
hard one to hit unless you're doing the rail yard loop, but
Yeah,
that's not a bad loop to ride
not a
either.
bad loop. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a little I think pet peeve with the rail yard loops over there where it comes over 71 business. That's a little
Yeah, slow. Yeah,
but
yeah. You're
it's
crossing busy streets on that
yeah,
rail
you're
loop.
crossing
Yeah,
a busy street, but it's gotten better over the last several years.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
actually they've actually put a wide enough sidewalk through there for the cyclist,
Oh, yeah,
but used to just ride the road on that, and that was sketchy. But
yeah,
times they're always changing.
yeah. New things all the time. You know,
For sure, for sure. So we wouldn't be the local legend cycling podcast if we didn't ask you: Are you a local? Do you hold a local legend title anywhere?
I do,
Yeah.
but I can't tell you what they are. Since I'm riding the Greenway almost every day,
Hmm.
I probably got like there's a Fat Tire one, or Fat Lake Fat.
Mhm.
Um, I might have that one, or probably just the segments between like downtown Springdale and Lake Springdale Trailhead, or up on Silent Grove. I probably have some of those local legends
Yeah.
because every so often I'll see Melissa Peck got your title local on this.
Yeah.
Oh, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So,
I remember, cycling whenever I cycled to Lewis and Clark for work,
mhm,
I had that one over there on, was that Holcomb?
okay,
Or then it turns into Turner?
yes,
Yeah, so right there where Turner, it cut I think right where it crosses the railroad, it'd be a local legend, or it
oh
would
wow,
be a segment.
somebody's made that a segment, huh?
Yeah, somebody made that a segment because it's a nice long straight stretch of road
Okay,
to the light,
right.
so I used to do that 5 times a week,
Oh wow, it's hard to beat that, huh?
Yeah, it was hard to beat that, so I always had that section, and then somehow I got a section over there in Johnson one time going over the hill
Oh
on
wow.
Zero Mountain.
So, like, if that's funny,
That's a beefy hill.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, when you cycle through the Lake Springdale trailhead area, if you look south, that there's a trail that goes up the side of that hill,
Mhm.
and that so I've got probably a legend on that, local legend on that, because I ride that quite a bit, you know,
Yeah.
all the way up, and then you can get all the way over on is that Pump Station Road that goes.
Mhm.
I think that you can kind of do that loop right there, you know.
Yeah, that comes out into that little private, well, there's that road that comes in, you can go around, and then there's the private road that goes up to the disc golf place, and then there's that cut, they put a cut through there,
Oh yeah.
and I go through that cut through a lot whenever I'm coming back home from Rogers,
Oh okay.
because it shaves off about a half a mile,
Oh,
and I
does it
don't have
really?
to go down to downtown. It shaves off 3 miles if I don't have to go down to downtown because 'cause I come up and over, and then it's another mile and a half from, my house to downtown Springdale,
Oh okay.
so,
So I've probably got a lot of local legends. I don't really think about that too much, but
yeah.
it's kind of unfair because I can ride. Now, I didn't ride today, but I'll probably do a morning ride tomorrow.
Mhm.
I don't know if well, probably not because it's going to rain tomorrow.
We'll see about tomorrow. Tomorrow's gonna be interesting
Kind
for
of
sure.
iffy, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be kind of iffy this week with the temperatures, but next week it's going to be back in the 60s and 70s again.
Mm,
And by
yeah.
then, by the second week of March, we're kind of getting into spring. I know we can have like cold weather between now and say the end of April, but generally the days are starting to look a lot nicer, you know.
Yeah, no,
Think
we're
all
on
that.
the, tail end of winter here.
Yeah,
That's nice. I'm ready for spring and
who
summer.
isn't, you know?
Yeah. Oh, where can people follow you at?
On Facebook,
Facebook and then,
of course, if they follow me on Facebook, um, I'd have to know you before I accept a friend request.
yeah.
But if you type in my name, Morgan Lindsay,
Mhm.
there's going to be Morgan Lindsay's. But when you look at the picture, once you see an old man, that's going to be me. Because if you
Yeah.
type in Morgan Lindsay, there's going to be some younger women that have the name Morgan Lindsay's. But when you type in Morgan Lindsay on Facebook, the old man picture, that's going to
Mhm.
be me.
Yeah, and then you're Morgan Lindsay on Strava as well, correct?
Yes, Morgan
Okay.
Lindsay on Strava. I follow quite a few people on Strava. Quite a few people follow me. Sometimes well, obviously on Strava, you
And
can
then
follow me without me accepting your friend.
yeah,
You
and
know, you
then
can
you're
follow me.
pretty active on the SBC page as well.
Yes, Springdale
Yeah.
Bike Club. Yep, Springdale Bike Club is open to the public.
Mhm.
Um, I'm an admin, and we can kind of see the number of people that are looking at the post and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of nice, and we can kind of see other metrics too. So,
Yeah.
yeah, people, yeah, go on there. It's like our gravel ride yesterday. I think uh, Caleb thought there maybe be 12, 15. I don't know how many were.
Yeah,
There was a
well, there
lot of
was
them, yeah.
only 8 people that confirmed. Me and him, and then Judy confirmed at the last minute, so that brought it from like 7 to 8.
Okay,
And then all of a sudden we had like 32 people.
is that what it was? Did you count them?
I want to say it was like closer to 35 because we picked up, I swear
I've
we
been
picked
I've,
up a couple
I've been
people.
saying 35
Yeah.
because some people started late. I think
Yeah.
Strava's getting to be an interesting social place because, excuse me, I am starting to get followed by people that are not exercise people.
Hmm.
All of a sudden, I look and so is following me, and I'll look on their Strava record, and they might have one activity,
Yeah.
and that's it. And I'm thinking, I don't know, you know. And then sometimes I'll get because you can text someone on Strava. There's a
Hmm.
little place where you can do that. Hey, how's it going? blah, 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 blah. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I'm blocking you. And I've been
Yeah.
getting quite a bit of that lately, actually,
Mm.
So when I moved here in 79, this is another thing I say, there's only one bike shop in all of Northwest Arkansas.
A high roller.
High Roller
Yeah.
started in 1972, but during that time, after they started, there was another bike shop right on West Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
So, so Dixon is going down this way.
Yeah.
We're going east to west. This is north. If you go down West Street intersects Dixon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going down West Street, there's a little brick building right there with a mural that's behind some overgrown shrubs that's got like 3 bike riders on that mural. That used to be a bike shop right there
Mm-hmm.
years ago. Of course, it shut down
Yeah.
by the time I came up here. Well, I've bought Gyro, Gyro.
Mm-hmm.
They have a helmet called the Register.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one size fits all,
Yeah.
but it fits my head perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen them on sale for as little as $35.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the MIPS
Yeah.
uh, feature in it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I've got 3 of them. They're my favorite helmets. They fit better than anything, and they're just as light as some of the older high-end bike helmets.
Yeah.
So they've really done something with those. $35. Now, normally they'll be for 55 to 60, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes if you look, it's the Register, Gyro Register.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen them for $35 on sale on different websites.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Morgan Lindsay. This and our first official guest on the Local Legend Cycling Podcast.